All right.
My beverages.
All right. You guys ready?
I believe so.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Not Your Father's Movies, a podcast where we talk about dad movies, how they relate to us, and how they relate to our kids. We are three dads. I'm Jesse.
I'm Vito.
And I'm Mike. And we are the dad fathers.
That one is hard to coordinate.
And we come at you with some confused multiverse energy.
Yeah, I feel definitely multiversal. I feel like I span universes. How do you guys feel?
I feel kind of 1 foot in this world, 1 foot in another.
Which one?
I don't know.
That's not good. You really probably should know.
It's my foot. It's not my head.
At least this universe that you're in, do you have Coca-Cola or Cola soda?
What is this Coca-Cola or Cola soda you speak of? We have bubblers.
Oh,
Bubblers.
Bubblers.
Where I'm from, we only have Pepsi.
Weird.
That's a terrible universe.
Yeah, there's no Coca-Cola. It kind of sucks over here, not gonna lie. It's called Arizona. The universe of Arizona. Anyway, we have multiverse energy because we're here to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, one of our favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
Or did I just spoil that? Because we're about to talk about that. But first, let's get into who made this movie, who's in it, what's going on, how many multiverses are there? Can you answer all those questions, Vito?
I can answer some of them, and some of them a little bit more vaguely. So this is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse from 2018. It's directed, has 3 directors, weirdly enough, Bob Percichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. And it was written from an original screenplay by, original story by Phil Lord, from, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the famous directing duo. And then a screenplay was done by Phil Lord and then Rodney Rothman. So I guess to give a little bit of background on where this came from, Phil Lord and Chris Miller were really the champions of this. They were kind of in the running to direct it, and they had to step away from it because of Disney issues. Everyone might know the famous story of them on Solo. Didn't go well for them. But anyway, so they're known for everything from the 22 Jump Street movies, both Lego movies. They've worked a lot on TV with How I Met Your Mother, Clone High. They've been around. They've made the name for themselves. Also the 2 Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball movies, which I think are pretty fun. And then we have Rodney Rothman, who shares screenplay and directing credit here. Rodney is a guy that's been involved with Phil Lord and Chris Miller for a while. He's also been involved with the Lonely Island guys, producing Popstar, and he's done a couple things of his own. I don't know. He hasn't had much of a career before this, except for some producing stuff for Apatow movies, stuff like The 5-Year Engagement, Get Him to the Greek, Year One, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So a comedy guy, been around for a little bit, but nothing that would have said, hey, you're going to help direct and write an animated Spider-Man movie. Peter Ramsey is, I think, I only want to run down some of these names because I think they're going to be kind of influential in the years going forward. Peter Ramsey's been around mostly as an art department guy, worked on everything from Sausage Party and A Wrinkle in Time to Shark Tale, Hulk, Adaptation, Minority Report, Panic Room, Fight Club, Being John Malkovich. Like, he's been around for a long time, but not what you would think of when you would think of a director of this. He previously, probably his biggest directing credit is for Rise of the Guardians. You guys remember that one? Rise of the Guardians, where all the holidays had like a hero. You remember that? Jack Frost was like the main character.
Oh, Jack Frost.
Yeah. Oh, Jesse's making a face.
Yeah. I think I saw bits of that movie. It's buried deep in my brain. I don't really want to dig it out.
Exactly. Our final director here is Bob Percichetti. He's also an animation guy, but he's kind of been around, and he's credited as a rough in-betweener for Emperor's New Groove and Treasure Planet, a story artist for Shrek 2, an in-betweener for Mulan and Hercules, kind of bopped around. The only other movie that he has directed is actually in the future. What's up?
What is an in-betweener?
It's kind of in the background of the animation department. It's about trying to fill in moments between important scenes, as far as I understand it. Because you know, when you transition between things, sometimes you need something there for you to see and look at, and I think that's what that job is. If someone knows more about animation, please correct me. I'd love to know more.
It sounds like a job where you just have to doodle, and then they say, "All right, that's good enough. We'll put that between here and here."
Exactly. And I think that job is probably like, if you guys remember, there was that big controversy when Lion King came out because someone swore they could see the word sex that was spelled out by the stars in a night scene. You guys remember this controversy?
Yeah.
And it actually just said SFX, but someone misinterpreted it. They took it out anyway.
I didn't know that it said SFX.
Yeah.
I always thought it just said sex.
No, I think it was supposed to be a little in joke, and then it got dirty. That's what my understanding. Anyway. But anyway, his last directing credit is a movie called Puss in Boots: The Last Wish that has been announced. In case we needed more Puss in Boots in our lives.
No.
But that kind of wraps up sort of that creative team there. We do have the creator, one of the co-creators of Miles Morales, Brian Michael Bendis, who is serving as a producer, obviously producing alongside Stan Lee, executive producer, and then Amy Pascal and Avi Arad, who are just big Spider-Man dudes. They've produced all the Spider-Man content that we've had. We have to kind of acknowledge them. They own too many of the rights. But this cast, guys, I'm going to read these off because it's going to be a little bit of a part of a future segment of the show. Shameik Moore off of, you might know him from Dope, a really good movie. He voices Miles Morales, and Jake Johnson, New Girl fame. Jake Johnson is doing Peter B. Parker. Haley Steinfeld from True Grit, probably most famously. And then Pitch Perfect 2 and 3 is here as Gwen Stacy. Oscar-winning Mahershala Ali is voicing Uncle Aaron in probably does the best work maybe of almost anyone here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, they all do a great job. There's not, I don't think anyone does a bad job in this movie, but I think that you can say that about pretty much anything he's in.
Yeah, he's the bright spot.
Yep.
Yeah, especially that True Detective season 3. Oof.
I mean, I object to that because I like Nicolas Cage in here as well.
Nicolas Cage is Spider-Man Noir. Fair. Yeah, he's pretty fun. I read one of the behind the scenes thing in the DVD where he came in and did a few lines, and the voice director was kind of coaching him. It's like, oh, maybe a little bit more. And at a certain point, Nick Cage said, "Oh, you want full Cage? Okay, I can give you that."
That's awesome.
But we have Brian Tyree Henry and Luna Lauren Velez as the two Moraleses here. Lily Tomlin is Aunt May in very small roles. Zoe Kravitz is Mary Jane. John Mulaney, Kimiko Glenn, and Nick Cage kind of round out our Spider people. And then we have, just the supporting cast is stacked. We have Catherine Hahn, from Step Brothers and how many R-rated comedies in here as Doc Ock. And Liv Schreiber as Wilson Fisk.
Just to comment on the Doc Ock, you're again being very bashful with this, Vito. See, Vito served as the inspiration and the motion capturing sensor man for Doc Ock in this movie.
It's true. It's true. It was really hard. It was a lot of work. Now I have to correct you, Jesse. We actually did no motion capture. They used me as a motion reference. This is all purely animated. They're very proud of the fact that they didn't use any motion capture. This is animated from start to finish, and I simply was there as a stand-in for some models. Okay, don't blow
I
my
just
roll
think
out
it's
of proportion.
Impressive that they were able to get it so right without doing motion capture. Like the way that your arms move are very similar to the way that hers do.
Yeah,
or I suppose hers are similar to yours.
That's better.
Yeah.
I'm scratching my head and my leg and my cheek all at the same time right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how long is this bit going to go on. we have Chris Pine as Peter A. Parker. Chris. We just saw him in Wonder Woman. Yeah, and then we have Oscar Isaac as interesting person number 1. So how many of you guys did either of you guys watch to the end, all the way through the end credits to the Stinger scene?
A couple times.
I think so.
So you have, and you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you watched all the way to the end credits where you see the new Spider-Man 2099.
Oh, the first time I saw it, I did. I forgot to do it this time.
Yeah. So that's Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
He plays Miguel, the new Spider-Man 2099. He's going to be in the second one, I guess.
That's right.
And then last two people I want to mention is Yorma Tacone from Lonely Island. He's voicing the Green Goblin. And then Lake Bell, wonderfully talented comedic actress, is voicing Vanessa Fisk. And that's, I think, all that we're going to touch on there until we circle back around to it. But that's kind of the team that came to this idea and the people that helped carry it out. And this is kind of why animation's so much fun, is that you can have a cast this huge and it's fine and it works. But honestly, as far as animated movies go, they love to stack these things deep. This is probably one of the most impressive ones I've ever seen. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I'm just kind of a casting nerd when it comes to stuff like this.
I love everybody's voices in here. I love even the smaller characters, and well, most of them. A couple notable exceptions. But besides that, I love almost everybody in this and what they bring to the table.
That sounds like a hot take incoming. Who do you not like?
Well, I think my opinion is shared by others, but this would be Spider-Pig or Spider-Ham, whatever his name is.
You don't like John Mulaney as Spider-Ham?
Or do you just not like Spider-Ham?
I guess in terms of him playing a cartoon Spider-Pig, he does as good as one could expect. So I won't take away any credits for that. But it's just the fact that I don't like the idea of a pig Spider-Man around. That really bugs me.
Wow.
I don't like his presence. I like to pretend he's not in the movie, to be honest.
So they had a lot of issues with Spider-Ham, and they had to actually cut him down a lot because kids loved him, parents hated him.
Interesting.
And
that makes sense.
There's one joke that killed at the screenings that they had to remove. So it's in the backstory section scene where they're all talking about like the hard times that they've all had. And Spider-Ham brings up the story about his uncle Frankenfurter, who was electrocuted and dies, and then mentions that he smelled so good while he was being electrocuted.
That's amazing.
And it killed at the test screenings, and they said, quote, "This is a bad laugh," end quote. And so they removed the line because they felt like it wasn't in keeping, even though everyone else really liked it. Although they do include some of this in the Spider-Ham short that's on the DVD, where he's swinging and eating a hot dog. And he says, "Chill out, folks. It's an all beef hot dog." And then he winks at the camera and says, "Not really." So cannibalism is okay in Spider-Ham's universe.
Spider-Ham's universe, yeah.
Yeah, I hate that universe. I never want to go near there again.
No, but the point is, though, Jesse, that Spider-Man exists in all possible universes. And a universe in which there are ham people, pig people.
Pig people.
Also has a Spider-Man.
There's also a villain in that universe that he fights that's called WMBs, and it's a missile that's made out of bees. It's really
so stupid.
Dude, that also means there's a universe out there just made of poop, and there's a Spider-Man in that universe, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to see spider poop.
Just think of all the things that they didn't show you, Jesse, and they chose to do Spider-Ham instead. And I mean, I feel like that's a good thing.
They chose not to show me Spider-Woman or Silk I guess they saved Spider-Man 2099 at the end, but he's always been one of my favorites, and I wish he would have been in there.
I think you will see all of those in October of 2022. They are all been confirmed to be in the new one.
Well, that makes me kind of excited, but I hope Spider-Pig is not back, or Spider-Ham. Spider-Pig man pig.
Guys, just to be real clear, it's a very simple name. It's called Spider-Ham.
That's it.
Okay, Spider-Pig is The Simpsons.
Hold on, that's where they got the joke for this role, right? For this idea.
Like, I haven't seen that anywhere, but for sure. I think for sure.
Well, didn't they actually make... Okay, I could be pulling this out of thin air, making this memory up, but I feel like I remember encountering... I used to like go to the Borders near my sister's music lessons. She took music lessons, and there was a Borders nearby, and I would get dropped off there, and she would go to music lessons, and I would just peruse through like music and also comic books. I feel like I remember seeing like the Spider-Ham comic books there while I was going through and being like, this is weird.
He first appeared in November of 1983, so we are all wrong. I mean, I was wrong and Jesse was wrong. Mike is right.
I was right. Yeah, it was a real thing. I thought that was a big part of why they included him in there, was because he actually he had a run.
Yeah, I think run is putting it. He had a ongoing bi-monthly season for a little while and then disappeared and is now back in this. So that's interesting.
So it's kind of like a fan service Easter egg type thing. I thought that was a part of it. And also It was kind of like this silly, like, oh, Spider-Man exists in every universe. This is funny, and kids loved it.
Yeah,
My wife hated it though. She was like, "What?
Yeah.
This is stupid."
I think it is stupid, but I think that's on purpose. I don't think that's
Yeah.
a criticism. I think it's like, oh, you get it.
That's how I feel as well, but she didn't feel that way.
I
Well,
mean, she
Mike-
she can feel that or not feel, but I think that's the point of the movie.
I agree.
Well, Mike, when you were first watching this movie, did you have strong feelings to Spider-Ham?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, huh? But then I was like, okay, I'll go with the ride. Like, this is a fun ride. I've enjoyed it so far. I'm willing to accept that this is going to be a thing here. It's like any sort of work of meta universes.
Yeah.
Is it always asks you, like, hey, are you willing to like really distance yourself from your expectations? Really willing to extend your disbelief?
It's when it gives you a word. It gives you one word. It'll unlock many doors. The word is tenet. You have to decide if you want to use it.
Well, it's the same backwards and forwards, you see. So
Yeah.
that's how it unlocks all the doors, right?
Yeah. I think Spider-Ham backwards is that's his name.
Exactly like
but
Tenet.
Mike,
Are we good? Are we good now?
I think we're good on this one.
Okay, that was just meant to be a joke. I mean,
all right. But Mike, how did you feel about the rest of the movie the first time you saw it?
Dude, I loved it. Oh my gosh. I thought this movie was incredible.
I kind of want to know this. Where did you see it for the first time?
I don't like I enjoy superhero movies, but at this point I don't really make time out of my normal days to watch them. What I'll do is when I get sick, I'll have like a day where I spend 12 hours in bed and I just watch superhero movies.
Nice.
It happens once or twice every year. And so this was one of the movies that I watched during a sick day.
I get Mike sick once or twice a year so that he can catch up on these movies so we can talk about
It's the superhero movies that make him sick.
just like Tenet, it happened in the future, so it's in the and we're off that joke. Back to you. Sick days.
Sick days. But we'll come back around to it, I think.
Oh gosh.
No, but so like this was somewhere in between like Civil War and Thor: The Dark World, I think. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is everything I've ever wanted in a movie, about Spider-Man, about a superhero in general. It was just such a work of pure joy. And I kind of regretted that I watched it while I was sick because it was so amazing. And I was just kind of like, oh, this is good. I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah, in a real case, that man flu, huh?
Yep, man flu. But yeah, dude, I love this. It was so joyful and so it just touched on so many things that I found really familiar, like the uncomfortable sort of middle school, early high school phase that I went through, and sort of the way that Miles comes into his powers are just really, really cool. They resonated so well with me, and I think a lot of other people too. What about you, Vito?
I went to see this in theaters. I went and saw it with a friend of the show, Dominic. And I remember kind of sitting down. I was really excited for this because, I mean, hey, this should be no surprise to any listeners of this show. We're all big fans of Spider-Man here. And I was really excited for a Miles Morales take, partially because I just played the PlayStation game, the original Spider-Man. And there was just such a hype for Miles Morales being there. And I remember when he was unveiled as a character in 2011, 2012, and the art style was really fresh. And it was such a new, bold take on what, honestly, at that time for Spider-Man, it was feeling a little tired. You know, we've been seeing so many incarnations of this character, and it felt like it had hit a wall in a lot of ways. And this was such a new, bold way to tell it again. So I saw it in theaters, and right when those credits happened, and you seeing everything glitching out and that music by Daniel Pemberton is swelling up. And then it just does that beautiful drop. And you see on the screen appears the stamp approved by the Comic Authority. And you feel this moment where I'm safe. I'm finally safe. This is finally a movie for me. And ever since then, this has been near and dear to my heart. I think I've seen this movie honestly like 7 times. I think my 7th time was yesterday.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's only came out 2 years ago, but this is an all-timer for me. How about you, Jesse?
Oh, that's awesome. Well, okay, I've got a little bit of a story to tell, because to understand how I'm coming at this movie, you have to understand what I was like in 2018, which was I had banned all superhero movies from my life.
I kind of remember this.
Yeah, I didn't like them. It was just the same thing being rehashed over and over and over again. I was hating it. I'd already seen 2 incarnations of Spider-Man, right? There's Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and Andrew Garfield at the end I was like, well, that was a waste. And then I saw Civil War. That was one of the few superhero movies I'd seen. And then I saw the new Spider-Man. I'm still not into Civil War. I wasn't into that new Spider-Man.
Are you talking about Homecoming there?
Yeah, so that he makes his first appearance in Civil War and then is later in Homecoming. And so, yeah, I'm not really into so I didn't bother to see Homecoming. And then I was also taking a break from movies at the time. I was watching TV shows almost exclusively. I was just busy, and that's what TV shows allow for. And I wasn't keeping up with movies in the slightest, had no idea this movie was happening until I bought my kids a couple Happy Meals. And there were some Spiderverse toys. One said Spider-Man, and he sort of looked like Spider-Man, but he was wearing a black costume. And then there was another toy that said Spider-Gwen. And then I said, I don't know what this is, but I don't want to have anything to do with this. I almost threw the toys out, but the kids liked them, so we kept them. All right, this is everything I hate about... This is exactly why I don't watch Marvel movies. I hate the constant rehashing of stories. I hate when they take the costumes of characters that I love, put them on new characters, and say, oh, this is for you, when I know that's a clear cash grab. That just infuriates me. So I was dead set to not see the movie. Until some coworkers talked about it, and they were all loving it. They were all like hyping it up to me, and they all told me if I liked the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, I should check this out. And then one of them gave me a copy. So I took the copy home, and guys, I loved it. I loved it so much that I got back into superhero movies because of this movie. Nice. It restored my faith in superheroes in general. So yeah, my first impression was this is restoring my faith in superhero movies.
That's awesome.
I also like how you came to it in a very dad way, you know, through a Happy Meal and through like stupid plastic China toys. And you're like, this is so cheaply made and mass marketed to be consumed by small children to make me see this movie. And it worked, but it was good.
Oh, man. Yeah, I remember that happening to my own dad. To some degree, I can't remember what, but there were like a few times where it'd be like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's for that movie that's coming out, you know, that new Inspector Gadget movie," and be like, "Oh," and like, yeah, you remember the old Inspector Gadget?
That's a stay tuned for Vito right there. I will hear no slander on Inspector Gadget. We need to move on here.
All right, I think we should move on. Vito, do you have something for us? I think you have something for us.
I do. I have a little game. It's a little cast trivia game. Okay. Now, when I was looking through the credits of everyone that was in this, I saw a lot of similarities. These people worked with each other a lot. Most of this cast works with each other almost with it. Like, I think 2 exceptions have worked with each other more than twice. Okay. Lily Tomlin is one of the exceptions. That's crazy. She works by herself because she's a respected Hollywood actress that made one of her feature film debuts in Nashville with Robert Altman back in the 70s. Okay, she's peerless. But everyone else. So this game I want to call, and this will be a point. This will be a point system where I will name the person and who they play in the movie, and you need to tell me, is this person in BoJack Horseman or not? Okay.
Wow. Okay. Wait, can you put the list up?
No.
Oh, dang it.
Because I have a list here.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I think I misunderstood the game, but now I get it. We'll see. We'll see if I got it.
Okay. So let's start here. I'll start with an easy one. Haley Steinfeld, voice of Gwen Stacy, previously seen in True Grit, which we all have seen, future episode. Is she in BoJack or not? Jesse?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes?
No, both
Dang
wrong.
It.
Negative point.
So this isn't just all going to be yes.
No, it's not all going to be yes.
Right.
Damn it. Okay.
Mike, I'm tied with you.
Yes.
Yeah, we're both negative.
So as a hint,
it's like golf.
As a hint, since you're negative, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cast members are in BoJack. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Now there's bonus points if you can name a show that they were also in with one of these other, because they're in multiple things. All these people are also in other things with each other. Okay. It's a deep one. There's webs. It's interconnected. All right. Jake Johnson, Peter B. Parker from New Girl. BoJack or not?
I don't think so. I'm saying no. This is Mike. I say no.
Jesse.
This is Jesse, the real dad father, saying yes.
Jesse, you are correct.
Dang
1
it.
point for Jesse. Okay. Brian Tyree Henry. Okay. Voice of Jefferson Davis. BoJack or not?
No.
Jesse?
No.
Wrong. BoJack. 1 episode.
Dang it!
1
Who
episode.
does he play?
Oh, I didn't look that up.
Oh, well, this
But
is.
but
you- you're
although
clearly
Jake
don't
Johnson was
know
in
anything.
5 episodes,
He
I believe,
was?
of BoJack. Yes,
Okay, I have negative
I
1.
have-
I'm still in the lead.
that's true. Still in the lead.
I'm -3. I'm -3. Yes.
Okay.
Like golf.
But Mike,
or something.
quick round, lightning round for you. If you can name what show New Girl crossed over with, which also shares 2 cast members with this movie, you are tied with Jesse. New Girl crossed over with 1 show. You get 1 hint if you want it.
Damn it.
I would like a hint.
Okay. It is a New York-based
How I
sitcom.
Met Your Mother.
No.
Damn it!
No.
I got it wrong.
You did. You would.
I do not like New Girl. This is a show I do not like.
Okay, but just for everyone to know, he crossed over with Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh,
And both Catherine Hahn
that's
and Jorma
right.
Taccone are in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Okay,
I did actually know that.
so two more questions before we figure this out. Jesse's still in the lead here. All right.
Negative 1, baby.
I'm so far down.
So Catherine Hahn, BoJack or not?
Jesse, you go first.
Catherine Hahn,
I'll say
voice
no.
of Doc Ock. Jesse, that's
No.
Jesse's answer.
I'm going to say yes.
Jesse is correct.
Damn it.
Now, what sitcom though was she a part of for a multiple episode run that she also was in with Natalie Morales?
This is like a daily double, so if you get it wrong, you lose all your points, Jesse. All 0 of them.
I'll allow it.
All
I'll allow it.
All my 0 points. Okay. Wait, say the question again.
Okay, if you can name the other show that Catherine Hahn is in with Natalie Morales. Natalie Morales plays the school teacher in this. She has a multiple episode, multiple season run on this show. Then you get I don't know, 5 points. I don't know. And if you lose it, you get 0 points. So
I have no idea.
You should give him a hint. I mean,
okay,
give you a
okay.
hint, give
The
him
hint is it's a sitcom about a small government in a small town.
You mean Parks and Rec?
I mean Parks and Rec. Okay, final 2 questions. All right. Lake Bell, BoJack or not?
Yes.
Yes.
You're both correct. 1 point.
Yes!
I'm at 1.
I got one right.
Now, and then the final one, Natalie Morales, who, just so you guys know, if you remember, she is Aziz Ansari's on-again, off-again girlfriend in Parks and Rec.
Oh. Okay.
Oh!
Yeah.
Of course.
BoJack or not?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You both get a point.
Yes!
So we end with Jesse here having won the BoJack or not. And then there was one final cast member, Penny Parker, the voice of Penny Parker, Kimiko Glenn, multiple episodes of BoJack Horseman as well. So,
Of course. I knew that.
but
If
they
you'd asked
also,
that, I'd have gotten it right.
but like John Mulaney is on an episode of Dickinson with Haley Steinfeld. He's also on The Kroll Show with Catherine Hahn. Kimiko Glenn is on Drunk History with Liev Schreiber. Chris Pine's in Wet Hot American Summer. Like, and he's on there with, wait, who else is he on there with? I lost it in my notes. Oh, no, he's in there with Lake Bell. Like, this cast is crazy, not only because of how many people worked on BoJack, but like how often they all work with each other. It was really fun. And when I was researching this, I just kept finding the same titles, and I just had to make a game of it. So thank you guys for indulging me.
Oh, I always love being wrong about as many things as I possibly can.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I am terrible with, for as many TV shows as I watch, I am terrible at like remembering who is in it and who their voices were. And I can never keep track of it all. I just enjoy watching it and never keep track of everybody coming off and on screen.
Well, I always play the game where it's like, oh, that's that one girl who was in that thing that we saw the other day. Remember that? Yeah, that's the game I play. I don't know any names.
That's my favorite.
Especially when it comes to like voices, I'm like, oh, that's the voice I heard the other day on a podcast. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and you're always right.
I get really involved with cast lists for both TV shows and movies because I like it when you can see someone early. You know, when you see them in a movie and you go, wow, they're really good in this. Who is this person? And you figure it out. And then you get to like watch their career over years. And it's nice when you're like, I was right about that person. I think my favorite one is Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig seeing in like early Apatow and Saturday Night Live stuff and being like, they're the best. Like, you're just going to have to wait, but everyone is going to see these guys rock. And then, you know, Kristen Wiig's in like Bridesmaids and you go, yep, see,
I was right. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I wish I had, I'm working on having a better memory.
That's good. You remember Mensa?
I keep forgetting to do it though.
That's good. I like that.
All right. So coming back to the Spider-Verse though, let's ask the big question though. So this is a movie more geared towards kids-ish, because it's a cartoon. Would you show this to your kids, and at what age? Mike?
Yeah, man. So, yes, absolutely. 100,000% I would show this to my kids. I think that this is just such a wonderful movie for kids to see, for anyone to see, really. But I think it's something that, you know, I would have loved to see when I was 13 or 8 or whenever. I almost would show it to them now, but the Prowler is just like, he's pretty creepy, pretty scary. And I don't think my kids would be able to handle that yet. I would love to see if I could show this to them. So my kids are 4 and 2 right now. I think when the older one is 6, they might be able to see it. I'm not sure. That's where I'm hoping to be. I want to show it to them early, but then not show it to them for a while and then let them see it again when they get to like their teenage years, when they get to that awkward middle school age and like, oh wow, this guy is going through the same thing as me and he's Spider-Man. That's kind of how I feel about it. What about you, Vito?
My daughter's already seen this 3 times. This is not her favorite movie. I think that probably goes to Moana, but this is something that she asks for a lot. And I think in a lot of ways, it's just because this movie is so important to me. I mean, you guys can't see it, but Mike and Jesse can vouch for the fact that it's my desktop background and has been for a really long time. And I listen to the music a lot from this gorgeous soundtrack. And so the first time, I will say this caveat here, she can't watch the whole thing. I always fast forward the scene where Peter A. Parker is killed. It's just really intense. And it's pretty hard to deal with. You know, I think it's done very artfully in the movie, but you know, Kingpin's fist goes up, go down, Spider-Man goes limp, and you're like, wow, Spider-Man is dead. And it's a very impactful moment. But I think she can get the gist of it when she sees the funerals and they're all talking about it. And then Miles's sort of realization, like, I can wear the mask. So she really enjoys this. The Prowler, I was worried about it too, but I sat with her and I held her. And when it got to the reveal, when he pulls off the mask and you see that it's Uncle Aaron, now when she sees the Prowler, she says, it's Uncle Aaron. I go, that's right. And she goes, why is he chasing me? I said, he doesn't know it's his nephew. She goes, oh. Like she understands that. And then that's even further reinforced when she sees the masks being taken off. And then when they realize they're who each other is, you know, they back away immediately. You know, you don't do that to family.
Yeah.
That's just how I approached watching with my kids. But I can't wait to show this to any more kids that I have. And I can't wait for my daughter to have this relationship with Spider-Man. You know, this is the first Spider-Man as a character is the first thing that we really bonded over. And this movie has a big part to play in that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. I get where you guys are coming from. And I have kind of showed this to my kids twice at this point. Both times my daughter has run away because she does that if she senses something scary and she saw the Prowler and she's like, nope. And then she bails and she goes and runs to her room. So I've tried to show it to them, but they just don't really care that much about it. Even at moments where I thought they would really be, where like with Spider-Man Ham Pig, with him, like I thought they would like him, but when he comes on screen, there was just no reaction, no laughs, nothing. It was kind of disappointing, to be honest. It was like, well, if he's not for me, then who is he for?
He's for me. He's for me, everyone. I like him.
Vito's who they made Spider-Man Ham Pig. But like, I think it's okay to show it to them because there's a lot of things they can handle. I was even fine with them seeing Peter Parker die because like they've seen The Lion King. I think they can handle this. And you don't actually physically see it. It's kind of the way that it's shot. I think it's more palatable. That's the word.
I felt it.
Felt pretty palpy to me.
I'm trying to stay quiet at that one because I don't want it to like become a thing and where it keeps happening, but I sense that it's going to, and I'm trying to get out of the way of that.
Yeah. Wait, no. So it's palatable.
Okay.
Because it cuts away is what you're saying. It cuts away. You see it from behind.
Yeah, that is more of an adult theme, but I think that's okay. Younger kids can see that. Same thing with this Prowler. And then there's also elements with like Peter B. Parker's life. Like he's struggling with like depression and not being man enough to be a father, which is way more of an adult concept. And for that reason, I think the appropriate age to actually like sit down and really appreciate this one would probably be the same age Miles Morales is, which is like 13. I think he's like 13. So I'm going to say 13 years old because that's when you can best relate to Miles Morales. That's when you can understand the themes in there, understand what's happening, and be really drawn and engaged with it. So that's what I've already tried to show it to them a couple times. I think I'm going to stop, wait till they're older, and then just explode their little heads with what's in this movie.
I'm only going to push back just slightly just at the wording of that. Cause like if I was 7 years old and I saw this, it would be my favorite movie for years and years and years. Like if I was 5 and I saw this, I guess 13 is the age of the protagonist, but like I didn't wait until I was 18 to see the original Spider-Man. And that's how old Peter Parker's supposed to be there. You know, I don't see a necessary correlation. I see some accidental ones, but I think that this is one that I think that was what Mike was saying is this is something kind of for all ages. It just kind of matters if the person that's watching it is able to receive it right then. And so if you're talking, you know, for you showing it to your kids, you're saying you're having difficulty there. You know your kids best. You'll be able to say, you know, kind of when this will work for them. But I think that this movie is engineered. I mean, like I said, like my daughter's 3 and she gets this and she sits down and watches it. She watches the whole thing.
Wow.
And she really likes it. The only time she starts to fall off is near the end when there's all the colors. And I think then it's too much and she gets kind of bored.
Huh. That's interesting.
In the vortex part.
Yeah.
But she's there for the characters. She's asking about what's going on with Miles. Miles falls from the building and hits the sign and she laughs. So yeah, there is some adult stuff with Peter's adult life. I guess it's funny when we're talking about this. I'm more accepting of having my children see depression or life not quite working out because that's very much a part of my experience. And then death though is a big hot button issue for me, just me personally. And so I'm always a little bit more cautious. Like one of the few movies that my daughter hasn't seen is The Lion King, and that just shows like the nice interesting differences in how we parent and what we want to expose our kids to. That's all I wanted to say.
What you said, Jesse, helped me to sort of think a little further about what my thoughts are about it. I kind of feel like I want my kids to have this in their memory bank from when they're very young or pretty young, like 6, 7 years old. I think like you said, it's going to be the coolest thing that they're going to see and have, but I don't want them to come to it every day. I have some sort of like general curiosities about superheroes in general.
General curiosities?
General curiosities about superheroes in general. I don't think that they're like, I don't want my kids to be constantly being like, oh, I want to be a superhero. I want them to be like, hey, I am great and wonderful as who I am, which is a lot of what this movie is talking about through the superhero mantle, which is part of why I love it so much. It does such a good job of what it's doing. And so I want them to see it. I want them to see just this kid like sort of reckoning with being a part of the world around him and reckoning with the fact that things are imperfect, that bad things do happen, but also being told, you're the best of us, Miles. Like, oh my gosh, every time I see that, like I start tearing up. That's such an incredible line. Beautiful, beautiful last words. I want them to have that in their memory bank as something like, this is special. But then, if it's possible to wait until they're 13 in Miles's age to come back to it and sort of be like, oh, yeah, man, this movie that I saw, it was really important for me to have seen it then, and it's important for me to re-encounter it now. I don't know. That's kind of how I think about it, because they'll be able to look at it with new eyes and see more of those complications rather than just the simple sort of baseline story.
Yeah. I think I'm at the same approach, which is why I was okay with them watching the movie in the first place when they're 4 and 2. Like, I'm fine with them having it in their memory bank. I don't think they're really going to fully appreciate it until they are at Miles Morales' age. And even though it's not the case for the older Spider-Man, like, the older Spider-Man in some ways isn't as heavy as what happens in this movie. This movie is almost heavier than most other superhero movies that I've seen. So I think you need to have some maturity to understand and fully comprehend what's going on. And then there's also there's one other aspect too.
No disagreement there, by the way, from me. No disagreement there. I was just wanting to just say that while these themes are hard to grasp fully, I mean, we're all like pretty much 30 years old here talking about this movie, and we're talking about how much it means. Like, that should tell you, right? So I wasn't disagreeing that you need age and maturity.
I don't think that you're able to get this movie until you're 30, like fully get it until you've grown up and you've kind of battled through all of this stuff, and you're an adult and you're seeing, oh wow, like these are all things that I wouldn't have picked up when I was 13. Sort of the way that Miles doesn't really pick it up. He doesn't really pick up that Peter B. Parker is, very depressed. His life is falling apart.
He just says you got to go home, man.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on with you, you got to go home and deal with it.
Yeah. But that's it. I just wanted to comment on that. It's a movie that brings something new, I think, every time you see it, at every age you see it.
I think you really struck on something there, because I was kind of thinking the same thing. This movie, for as much as it's a cartoon and the fact that it has Spider-Man Hempig, it's really made for people our age. I think it was made almost like targeted at people like me who don't like superhero movies, who have been jaded by so many Spider-Mans and are finally bringing that character to life, or that idea of Spider-Man to life in the full, to one of the fullest possible extents. That another thing I was thinking about while I was watching this movie is, you know what? I really want my kids to watch some of the Spider-Mans that I grew up with and have that impression of Peter Parker, because I think that kind of carries through to this movie. You're only like, I think the weight of him dying, it's a big deal, but he's only on screen for a few minutes, or less than a few minutes, right? And then he dies. He's out of the picture. If you don't have a background on Peter Parker, then I don't really think that scene is very emotionally impactful, or not as emotionally impactful. And then when he comes back, it's Peter B. Parker, right? And that's kind of a riff on, frankly, like the Tobey Maguire and maybe Andrew Garfield ones that had come out. Like, you just kind of imagine, like, all right, dude, when you get older, like, you're going to like really struggle with life based off of what I'm seeing from you. And so it kind of struck me that to fully appreciate at least the Peter Parker side of things in this movie, you actually need to watch other renditions of Peter Parker.
you need to know who Spider-Man is, right? And you need to have some kind of relationship with that IP. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and it definitely feels like it's a really fun logical conclusion. Where would this kind of character go? It's like if when you fast forward Batman like 20 years, this guy is like crippling psychological and emotional traumatic experiences that happened to him. So even though he was able to sort of like get by on youthful enthusiasm, what's it year in and year out? And I saved New York City, and I saved it again, and I saved it again, and I saved it again.
I got beat up a bunch.
Yep.
Ooh, and to draw an analogy there's Batman Beyond, right? Which is after Batman is really old, and then someone else comes and takes the mantle. And I remember seeing that when I was like 7 or 8, having an experience with Batman, and then seeing that, and it was so awesome to see that, right? Yeah. That's what I would want my kids to have, that experience right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the same one. Just watching Terry McGinnis take over from Bruce Wayne, even though like watching the Batman animated show from like 95 to 97 or 98, and then getting Batman Beyond. I mean, I'd already known about Batman for half my life. And then so to get Batman Beyond was just revelatory. Also, I do want to make just a small distinction here. So we do talk about this being a cartoon, but that's something that a lot of the animators and the directors really push back against that. They say that there's a misunderstanding of animation as a genre instead of a medium. And it really is a medium. And I think that's actually tying in more to what you guys are both saying. This is the best way that they have found to communicate this story, make it look like a comic. All these panels that are being laid in across each other, and the weird ways they can cross cut, the crazy character designs, really making Wilson Fisk look. They describe it, he's a wall with a tiny little head floating in the middle. And so it is a cartoon, but it's also a beautiful, moving piece of artwork. And it's not a cartoon in the same way like The Croods is a cartoon. It's not the same in the same way as I don't know, just any like Monsters versus Aliens, like these really made for money, made for the lowest common denominator. Like get your kids in the theater, sit down, eat some popcorn.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think we've gotten past the point where animation is just for kids. That may have been how it was like 30 years ago. That's not how it is anymore.
Yeah, it was for kids, and then for those weirdos that are watching like heavy metal and like Ralph Bakshi cartoons,
Yeah. Okay. So I think we talked about that topic enough. I'm sure it's going to come back in the podcast, but I would like to jump into something maybe a little more fun, which are favorite scenes. So, Mike, I think we all have one big favorite scene. I think we're going to save that after we've all given our runner-up. So, Mike, what is your runner-up favorite scene?
My runner-up favorite scene. Yeah, I mean, dude, there's so many good scenes in this movie. It's just like from start to finish, I'm having a good time. Like, oh my gosh, speaking of just the animation, like it's just so powerful the way that they do make this like a comic book. I feel like little Mike in Borders reading through the comic books that he's not buying. It's so cool.
How long can I sit here and read this?
Yeah. Jane, why are you back? Don't come back. I wasn't that little. They didn't abandon me in Borders. I was older.
Might have taken me a while to notice that they had, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that would have been the best place for little Mike to be abandoned. But my favorite scene, I think, other than my second favorite scene, other than my favorite scene, is the scene. So Miles Morales' dad is the cop, Jefferson Davis, and he and his son are going through kind of some conflict. They're not connecting right. And then, a lot of stuff happens, including Uncle Aaron getting shot. So Uncle Aaron has just died, and Jefferson Davis, the cop, comes up to Miles Morales' dorm room at the fancy school that Miles is going to, which is a part of the conflict. And Miles hasn't been answering his phone when his dad is calling. He's not talking to his dad. His dad doesn't know why. Miles isn't really trying not to talk to him. He's just got a lot of other stuff going on. But to his dad, it feels like he's lost connection with his son. At this point, Miles has also just been rejected by the Spider people from all the other universes. And Peter B. Parker has told him, listen, you're not ready because you don't know how to control your powers yourself. And so he's tied him up with web into his swivel chair in his room. And so Miles isn't able to open the door. And his dad comes up and he knocks on the door and says, Miles, are you there? I know you're there. I see your shadow under the door. And Miles can't talk because he's webbed up and he's got webbing over his mouth. His dad just kind of bares his heart to his son and says, hey, I'm going to paraphrase. Basically, we're not connecting. I'm trying to say what you need to hear, and I'm not saying it, but I want you to know that I'm trying. I love you. This is right after Aaron, his brother, has died, and he says, people drift apart. What's unsaid there is that he hopes that he doesn't want to drift apart from Miles, and the idea is that he's going to accept him no matter what, and that's something that Miles is struggling with very, very much.
Yeah, he's in that new school. He feels distance, right?
He feels distance. And then, he's becoming the new Spider-Man, and his dad has said, I hate Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And so his uncle has just died, and they don't know that they both know this. And then his dad says, Miles, I see this spark in you. There's this spark in you. This idea of him being the best of all of us. He's their hope and their dream. And he says, that's why I push you. That's why I push you so hard. And I'm sorry if I'm pushing you away. And just the way that scene is animated, Miles rolls up to the door, and he's pressed with his entire body against the door, and it's just beautiful because they're both standing there on either side of the door, and they're unable to talk, but you just feel the scene and feel the emotions that are going through this love that they each have, both the acceptance and the difficulty of communication between people. That Miles' dad finally breaks through, despite there being a wall there. What he finally says is, Miles, I love you, and you don't need to say I love you back.
Yep.
And then he has to go. And it's just like, it's just a tear-jerking scene. I love it. It's so beautiful. And from there, Miles is able to, do what he needs to do after getting that unconditional love from his father.
Yeah.
Which is just a beautiful, beautiful scene.
Nice.
Yeah. Honestly, of all the dad dialogues that we've covered, which haven't been much up to this point, so this doesn't mean that much at this point, I think this is the best.
Yeah.
This is the most heartfelt father-son moment I think that we've covered on this show before. Yeah, I love it.
And it's so amazing. I feel like so often, it's so easy it would have been so easy to make that totally cheeseball, right? Like, and I feel like I've seen people try to do this sort of thing, and it just ends up being kind of fluffy and meaningless. And this is just so meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great one. I was especially moved by that. I love you. You don't have to say it back. And, and just trying to examine how everything looks to Jefferson, right? Spider-Man dies. His son is out. He's pushing his son. And then there's just nothing. Like there's nothing from his son, and just the confusion that he must feel. And then like the whole city descends into chaos, and they can't find Miles, and they don't know what's happening with him at all. But when you look at it from Miles' point of view, he has this very clear emotional thread. But like as a dad, Jefferson is so on the outs of everything. Yeah.
And also, I think their last bit of dialogue that they have in movie before that scene is Miles like rushes back. He's confused. He rushes back to the house, and he sneaks in, and they come rushing. And I think his dad tells him to go back, and they say, no, you can actually stay here. And the only thing Miles tells him is he looks at him and says, man, Dad, do you like Spider-Man? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
and he goes, ah. Well, and then his wife like cuts in, and he's like, "Baby, you know how I feel about Spider-Man."
it's a total dad reaction where it's like, no, I tell my son the truth. Like I tell my kids the truth. I'm a good dad.
Yeah.
I tell my kids the truth. I don't like Spider-Man. I don't think he's right. He's blah 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's not picking up on the emotional thread of like, this kid is experiencing some serious shit right now, and he needs you to tell him that he loves you.
That's a hardcore backstory.
Yeah, it's a hardcore backstory.
And then Spider-Man dies. So like I bet all this dad is remembering is the last conversation he had with his son, which was him saying he doesn't really like Spider-Man, and then him feeling like an utter dick because he realized that guy died being a hero the next day.
Yeah.
And then
it's because it's on the TV after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was yours, Jesse?
All right, so my runner-up favorite scene is just the intro. Again, because I didn't know how I was going to feel about this movie. At first, there's an intro with Peter Parker kind of making fun of the Tobey Maguire stuff, and then it just at the scenes with Miles Morales. When you first see him, he's listening to music and he's trying to sing along to Sunflower and messing up the words. Then he rushes off to school and you realize he's not the nerdy Peter Parker. He's actually kind of cool, but probably very smart. Like already setting himself like apart from the Peter Parker that I had known and grown up with. Like this whole scene just solidified Miles Morales as a real character that I should care about, not a knockoff version of Peter Parker. And then his dad comes into the picture because he sees him like slapping stickers on things. They have a conversation in the car because he takes him in the squad car, right? And then they're talking about Spider-Man, and he says, with great ability comes great accountability.
It's like basically the same thing.
He's like, damn, that's not how it goes. I
and then he treats you to like this wonderful, like, hey, look at that. Look at that. Oh, new coffee shop. There's all these new coffee. What's that one called? Foam party. What's that foam party?
Foam party. This is ridiculous. Isn't this ridiculous, Miles?
Oh man, yeah, it's so great. And then this whole sequence ends when he gets to school, and then Jefferson Davis says, "I love you, Miles," and then Miles just says, "Yeah, I know, Dad." And then over this loudspeaker, he just says, "Say I love you, Miles."
Say I love you. Say, Dad, say I love you.
I love you, Dad.
That's a cop.
It was so great. It solidified who Miles Morales is in this movie, made me care about a character I did not want to care about. And it's great. It's great because it does all that in just a few minutes.
It's so relatable too. I mean, like, dude, he's this new kid at this new school, getting pushed out from his old neighborhood with all of his friends that he likes and thinks he's cool. It's such like a fun sort of turning on his head of the Spider-Man myth, because Spider-Man's the nerd who, you know,
gets beat up all the time.
Who gets beat up by everybody, and he's a fish out of water because he's a nerd. But in this case, like Miles Morales, he's kind of a nerd. Like, he's smart.
Well, he's
not a nerd,
but he's in a school full of other nerds.
Yeah, but he's on the outskirts because, like, his shoe's untied.
Yeah, I know. It's a choice.
I love that line so much. It's a choice. Oh, hey, we wore the same thing today. This is awkward. It's so funny. He's like such a cool dude. Like, I want to hang out with this kid at 13, and it's such a funny turning on his head of that myth.
Yeah. And you also see how a wisecracking Spider-Man could also be this kid almost instantly, because he still cracks a bunch of wisecrack jokes. Wait. Yeah.
You got
he
there.
Cracks the wise cracks.
he wise the cracks, yeah. He wises all the cracks.
He wises the crack out of those cracks.
Just word babble.
Vito, what was your runner-up scene?
So it's going to be a little bit quicker to describe. So I'm going to describe my two favorite jokes as well. They're very fast.
Yes.
One is when right after he's bit the next morning, when he has the awkward encounter with Gwanda, and they have to they have to cut her hair, and he's going out. He's like, no one noticed, no one knows. And you see him walking, and he's sweating, and the camera's paneling in closer and closer to his eyes, and he's looking around. And he's like, no one knows. Everybody knows. But as he's looking back and forth, he goes, wait, are they laughing at me? And he goes, whoa, she's tall. And you see a very tall high school girl in the background. And the second one is when they're breaking into the facility, and they have the whole plan. They meet Doc Ock, and they're running out, and Peter in fact does grab a bagel on the way out, just like he said he was going to. And he hands it over. He takes the computer from Miles that they're heisting, and Miles takes the bagel. And as they're running out, Miles throws the bagel, and it hits a guy coming through the door. And just for a split second, you see the onomatopoeia of the bagel hitting him, and it just says bagel. And I look for that joke all the time because it's so funny to me, because usually you'd expect to see a pow. You'd expect to actually see a word that signifies the sound, but instead a bagel hits a guy and the sound is bagel. I can't describe anymore why that's so funny to me, but I love it. But my go ahead. Sorry.
And then there's that great joke when he does it where somebody shouts at him in the cafeteria, "Hey, you look like Spider-Man." And he's like, "Ha ha, get that all the time." I just love that joke.
It's the my favorite, my runner-up scene is, I think it's going to be the second Prowler chase, where Miles has gone to Uncle Aaron's apartment, and instead of Uncle Aaron, it is the Prowler who comes in, almost finds him, but then unmasks himself as Uncle Aaron. Miles, in confusion, escapes. The Prowler realizes someone's been in there because Miles was invisible the whole time, and he sets off. And it's one of the most kinetic, amazing chase scenes that I've really ever seen. Just the way they panel in, and they're showing Miles running. They show the Prowler getting on the motorcycle, like, and then they cut closer to Miles running, and you see him turning the key and then racing out, and then all the panels sort of coalesce into one, and it turns into this like really glorious, really incredible action scene. This movie has some of the best action, period, like best action choreography. You know, I think Marvel could really learn a lesson or two from just how detailed and specific and clear everything is, where everyone is at all times and what's happening. Because it's never a mess. You're never just like, wait, what, who? And if you are, it's because that's the effect they want you to have. Like at the end, when they're shooting through all the buildings that are coming out of the reactor and everything. The effect there is supposed to be disorienting, but in this one, you're supposed to see exactly what's happening. And I thought that was really, really gorgeous choreography, and I'm a sucker for that. So that's my runner-up scene.
On the way that he barely makes it through all the cars that are crashing at once. It's so cool.
And he looks behind him, and he expects to see the Prowler, and he's not there.
Yeah.
And instead, he's up there on that beautiful, like almost Batman-like silhouette against the sky. And then again, the panels come up with Penny Parker, who's fixing that motherboard.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it's so confusing, but it's such a beautiful like movement of images, because you're seeing a skyline of a city, and then you're seeing a motherboard close up like it is a city, and then it transitions from the city to the small piece and then back out. Like it's gorgeous work of how they let your mind follow in a very masterful way.
The whole movie is so cool about that. Like you said, you know, the way the action is done in this movie is really cool. It feels like a 13-year-old kid, a thin 13-year-old kid running around scared.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he's running scared, you're like, I kind of remember feeling that way.
Yeah.
And it's just like kind of like Prowler is just so big.
He's got so much that theme too. That and it's like a klaxon siren that's been distorted or something. Yeah. And it can be really low and rumbly, so you know he's coming, like the stomping of a T-Rex, or it can be loud, like an alarm blaring to let you know, like, you gotta run, you gotta go, kid.
And he just runs, but you feel like he's not going to get away. Like he's too small. Mm-hmm. The world is so large around him.
Yeah. In his little stupid suit that he bought from Stan Lee. It always fits. Eventually.
That doesn't make any sense.
Nobody does.
Exactly.
Who wants to take us through our favorite scene, though? Mike?
Vito does.
Vito, you want to do the favorite scene?
Yeah, I think I know why Mike is giving this one. So I have seen this movie 7 times, and every time I tear up hardcore at the leap of faith. And by tear up hardcore, I actually mean actual tears leak down my face. It is the only scene in any movie where I consistently break down because of the joy and the wonder of it. And that sounds real dumb. It sounds real stupid to say that. Like generally you'd want to cry at, something like in Schindler's List, or, Jack slides off the door in Titanic, right? And falls to it drowns and freezes to death, both at the same time. But this one, when his little shoes scrape on the window as he gets ready to jump, and the camera zooms in on these little details, you hear and you hear the music in the back, almost like at a lull. And then he just shoots off. And the way the glass is shown as his fingers come off the glass, and that song, What's Up Danger, just drops. And as he's shooting through the air, and the panels go boom, 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 boom. And it's a close-up on his face. And just the actualization of his character when he finally becomes who he's supposed to be, when he finally realizes his destiny. And then the incredible joy and the wonder that he feels as he swings down and is running along the city streets. And that song is blaring out. I remember just in the theaters, that is one of the most exciting, original, incredible things I've ever seen. And that is why I'm here for superhero movies. I will suffer through all the mediocre ones to get a moment as good as that again. It's again, that image is my desktop background. It's the thing that I look at that inspires me to do anything. And my daughter likes to point at it, and she said, "Oh, that's Spider-Man." I said, "Yeah." And she said, "He's falling in the city." I said, "Yeah, yeah, that's right. He is." Because there's that beautiful inversion shot of him coming into his destiny. He's accepting New York, and New York is accepting him back. I don't know. I could talk for a long time about the different ways those panels work, the way the music works, all of it building to just this amazing final character turn. Yeah, that's my favorite.
The
And
leap
I
of
think
faith.
that's all our favorite. Yeah, leap of
It's
faith.
the leap of faith. when he stops at like the final building before he goes into the thing,
Mhm.
and he just like lifts up his mask, he's just breathing heavy, like, and you can just see like the huge amounts of just joy and emotion. And I can't believe I just did that on his face. And he finally like smiles. It's the first time that you think I
The
like
genuine
Miles
smile.
smiles. He just genuinely smiles like a kid. That was so cool. And I don't know, for me, it brought me back to like the 3 or 4 times when I was a kid and I like realized what my body could do, like if I pushed it or if I thought like, hey, maybe. So I used to swim.
Mhm.
I was on a swim team when I was in early high school, and I was fine at it. But the stroke that I was never able to figure out was butterfly.
It's a hard one.
It's a hard one. It's a really hard one to figure out too, because it's this very specific rhythm. And what was awesome was that me and my friend, whenever we would get into trouble, which was at least once a day, our coach would have us swim 800 butterflies.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so it was a horrible punishment. We would almost drown every day. It was great. It was the best time of my life. But one day, like halfway through, like the 7,000th time I'd gotten that punishment, it clicked. Like the butterfly clicked for me. And I just did it. And I finished it in like record time. I was like, can I do it again?
Wow.
I was like, I want to do this again. I don't ever want to stop doing this. It was one of the best feelings I've ever had, just like with this sort of confidence in my own body and what I could do. And that scene makes me think of that moment of my life, which was just this massively important moment for me. I think that's what it's trying to do. That joy in the possibilities of what you're able to do.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah, I love that scene for so many reasons. First off, it looks beautiful. I mean, I understand why it's the screensaver on or the background on your computer, because the look and the colors are so rich and incredible. Who sees skyscrapers go upside down and then fall towards the main character? Because like Miles isn't really. It's almost like it goes towards him.
Miles is right side up. That's what
Yeah.
that's what you feel like. Even though he's falling down, he's the correct orientation.
Yeah, because he has the correct orientation in mind, and they actually represent that on screen with this scene. And it's not. I love how the whole idea is just it's a leap of faith. There's something that he can't describe. There's something he can't touch. He knows he has to have it, and in order to gain it, he just needs to do it. I like that ethereal. In superhero movies, it's usually very solid, right? There's usually a moral, like, oh, the bad guy's, the obstacle in your life, you can go beat the crap out of him. And this one, it's the obstacle is really himself, and he overcomes that with just some faith. It's amazing.
Yeah, like the foes is the job, right?
Yeah.
It's not as if there's it's not like The Dark Knight, right, where there's this philosophical debate at the heart of the movie. It's not that. It's what we're talking about. It's his embracing of that hero's mantle, finding it was in him, not like in him all along, because it's not. We've seen him try this before in a really awesome sequence where he tries to jump from the tall building and it's too tall, so he leaves and goes to the smaller building.
Yeah.
But this one, he goes to the tallest one he can and just does it.
Yeah, I love that idea. Like, you can activate something in yourself. Yeah, that was amazing. And then he does it, and then I guess I should have mentioned this earlier, but he does that to Peter B. Parker at the very end, right? When like Peter B. Parker wants to sacrifice himself for everybody, and he holds Peter B. Parker over a portal, and then says it's a leap of faith. You need to go back. You need to reestablish yourself with Mary Jane. You need to get your life back on track. Yeah, this is after Parker told him the same thing, basically. And Parker understands that, and he just falls and accepts his faith in a fall of fate.
It's a beautiful mirroring, right? Because it's the exact same thing. He's holding him over the floor and then switching it, holding him over a portal, and it's not what you would expect to see, right? It's a subversion because he's going to face up against Kingpin. We watched Kingpin kill a Spider-Man already, and that's at the very heart of this debate they're having about whether or not he stays. And I think that a lazier storyteller would choose to have the big baddie fight several of these spider people, and it's not that. He says, this is my world, and I need to fight them if I'm Spider-Man. And you can't interfere here. There's a principled victory that must be accomplished.
And
it's
that
cool.
That's the heart of why I love Spider-Man in the first place.
Yeah. They're all there. They've supported him and helped him to say, like, hey, like, we believe in you. You are the best of all of us, Miles. But finally, like, Miles has to make that leap of faith. And finally, he's the one who has to fight his own demons, right? Like the Kingpin in his own part of the multiverse and whatnot.
Yeah, because that Kingpin traumatized him too, right? Killed his hero in front of him. Yeah. Also, I don't want to step on anything here, but there's a couple Easter eggs I wanted to point out that I thought were really wonderful. Is in that scene specifically when Fisk shows up, I loved that they for a moment acknowledge kind of the other Fisk. When the bridge rises up, it's the exact same as in the Daredevil TV show opening credits. And then,
really?
There's the red bubbles that come off of it, just like in there.
I did not even notice that. That's awesome.
And I love that they just paid a little bit of homage to the other Kingpin that was done well, and zero homage to any other incarnation of him that might have come up. Like in the other Daredevil. I really love that. Stan Lee, as far as I can see, is in 3 scenes of this movie. One, he's stepping over Peter and Miles as they are lying on the sidewalk. He's the guy on the phone that steps over him. And he's also on a train that's shooting by as Miles shoots by him, and he's doing the Spider-Man symbol out the window at him. So I like that he's awesome. Like, and the filmmakers actually say it's possible he's in more of it. We don't know. Because he might have just been put in the background.
It's really cool.
That was a fun Easter egg. And those are just the 2 that have really come to mind. I do want to ask if you guys do you have any relationship to the other Spider people that are shown here? Because now that we've sort of cleared up that Spider-Ham has comic origins, have you guys read any of the other characters?
No, I haven't. I haven't read. I might have encountered Spider-Gwen at some point.
How about you, Jesse?
Nah, it's just Spider-Man for me.
Yeah, I did want to point out Spider-Gwen just a little bit because Jason Latour is the creator of her, and he's a really wonderful writer. And I actually was reading some Spider-Gwen before the movie came out. It's a really, really cool character. And if this is a launching pad for anyone to really get into comics, reading about these characters more, Spider-Gwen is an all-timer. I think that she's almost as compelling as Miles Morales himself. And her backstory is pretty deep and is pretty hardcore as well, even though we only see a little tiny bit of it in this movie. So I just wanted to shout that out before we moved on.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I did pick up my old Ultimate Spider-Man comics after this, and then bought some just so I could possibly get to the point where Morales is introduced, and then I never got there because it was way too much. So I should just buy them. I should just buy it, but I just don't feel like investing in comics at this point.
Well,
so I haven't.
I think the Ultimate Spider-Man and also Brian Michael Bendis is as one of the creators alongside Sarah Percichetti of Miles Morales. He was writing Spider-Man for like 10 years prior to Miles Morales coming around. I think he said that he wrote Spider-Man for 18 years.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, he's one of the longest people that's ever been on the comic. But he also shows up in the movie along with Sarah Percichetti on the cell phone when he's looking through to try and call Uncle Aaron. You see B. Cool. Bendis and S. Percichetti on there. It's kind of fun.
Cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Speaking of that, he's calling Uncle Aaron. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. It's kind of at the heart of the movie. At least it's at the heart of Miles Morales in a lot of ways. And that is the kind of Uncle Aaron versus his father, Jefferson Davis. And I wanted to ask you guys, who do you think the better dad is and why?
Mike?
Oh yeah, definitely Jefferson Davis. I think. Well, yeah. I think it's pretty clear. I don't know. To me, it's pretty clear that his actual father is the better father, even though he has to go through a character arc to become better than he is at the beginning. I mean, clearly, there's the clear difference between the two, where Aaron has chosen the life of crime, and Jefferson has chosen the life of fighting crime. He's a cop. So, I mean, just from that perspective, from being a role model, an actual role model in terms of what they actually do, it seems to me clear that Jefferson Davis is the better man and father in that term. I mean,
I definitely agree with that. I think that what Uncle Aaron brings to the table,
Yeah.
right, is that he tries to relate to Miles.
yeah,
Jefferson doesn't seem interested in having a personal relationship with his son, because he's trying to push his son because he knows his son is gifted, and he doesn't really seem to know how. And then Uncle Aaron is like, hey, this is a cool kid. This kid is special. He tells him that all the time. He
Yeah.
nurtures his interests. He's always trying to encourage him to do things that scare him. Meanwhile, his father tells him very specifically, you don't have a choice. You're going to do this stuff because it's good for you, which is definitely a great dad quality. But he's missing that spark of a kind of friendship, right? The kind of friendship that a dad can have with his kids is that nurturing, that encouraging, and that trying to relate in some way, trying to find some common ground. And Uncle Aaron finds that in trying to help him talk to girls, trying to nurture his artistic growth, listening to cool music. They're watching Community and listening to Biggie. All right, that sounds like a pretty fun Friday night.
Well, yeah. I mean, he brings him to the subway station where he's able to do his graffiti. I mean, Miles is a pretty awesome graffiti artist. Like, that's some cool stuff he's doing there.
Yeah.
But his dad is just like having none of it.
Yeah.
And then when Aaron tells him, "Oh, your dad and I used to do this stuff all the time," Miles is like, "What? My dad used to do this?"
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't know. I feel like that makes even more sense of why his father would be hesitant to kind of connect on that level, because
he's been burned. He's been burned by his brother.
He's been burned, but he also probably knows, like, the trouble he got into before he became a cop, and he doesn't want to, like, put his stamp of approval or come out looking like a hypocrite to his son when his son gets into similar sorts of trouble. It makes sense.
Yeah,
That's not to say that he shouldn't relate to his son.
Yeah, honestly, I got the feeling watching this movie that Jefferson Davis used to be a dude who ran with a crowd that he doesn't like anymore, that he doesn't want to have anything to do with in any way, because maybe something got taken too far at some time. And so it seems like he's actively encouraging Miles to not have anything to do with that thing that he knows that he can't even, that is almost unspeakable. That's kind of like a subtext that I'm getting from Jefferson Davis a lot of the time. And Uncle Aaron doesn't have... Uncle Aaron is clearly that guy who he still fights for the mob, right? Like, he's still a bad guy, so he has no problem introducing Miles to his life, because he still thinks it's all right to do, because he probably thinks this is still in my view of Uncle Aaron, he just thinks, like, this is a job, I make money, what's wrong with this?
Yeah, and in that way, he has a kind of honesty about who he is, because he feels no shame. And Jefferson, it seems, even if he doesn't feel shame, he's definitely keeping a lot of himself back for whatever reason. There's a reticence, and I think it could be shame, like what we're talking about. Maybe something happened in his past that pushed the two in divergent directions. Or it could simply be that he's just a much more principled person. Aaron doesn't really seem like he has principles, except for family, which is a very vague one. He and Dominic Toretto have that in common. And I think that, Fast and Furious, come on.
Yeah.
Familia?
Yeah, sorry. Great. Yes.
You guys suck.
I'm listening to your words.
But I mean, he's also like a super criminal that pulls off heists and only cares about family and feels no shame about what he does. And also listens to rap music.
Yeah. Well, I think he does feel shame about what he does. Like, he says explicitly to Miles, like, I didn't want you to know what I was doing.
Yeah, but I think that's only because he doesn't want to involve him. It's like it's his job, just like his dad doesn't involve him in his job either.
Yeah, I think it's more than that. Like, what does he say when he's lying there dying? He's like, I wanted you to look up to me, and now I know you won't. Basically, is the idea. Like, that's the unsaid truth. Like, I wanted you to look up to me.
Yeah, I just didn't
And
see that
said he's
necessarily
the best
as shame. I think he's just trying to just push it away over here. Like what Jesse was saying. It's like it's a job, push it in the job box. That's the box of job. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, like the
Yeah.
moment where he realizes it's Miles.
And the moment he realizes it's Miles, he just says, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because he's supposed to, he was going to kill him.
Right. But I can see that going either way. Either that is just, like shame, like having been found out and then like realizing his worlds have collided and there's no going back, and how is he going to fix this? Like that could also be like just a man who has a job and has realized he can't go forward in it anymore. So I don't know. I think it could go either way with that particular. Like Uncle Aaron is just a weird dude. I wish we had some backstory. I almost wish there was an Uncle Aaron movie. Uncle Aaron, the movie.
One of the directors also said the same thing. He said it's really a shame he's dead. He said because we worked so hard to get him up on screen, and he's just one of the most compelling stories. And he's like, it was really a shame that he died. He said we wanted more.
Well, I bet they can explore it to some degree, like with Miles in the future, right? I mean, I hope so. I hope they do.
Yeah.
Because kind of trying to figure out his legacy, how he got here.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a cool story.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
As he's also trying to become a better Spider-Man. I don't know.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I would love backstory on Uncle Aaron and Jefferson's relationship. I would like to know.
You just got to play the game.
You just got to play PlayStation's Miles Morales, man. You got a lot of it there.
Just have to spend hundreds of dollars for that. Great.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it's worth it. Yeah. Worth every penny.
I don't understand. Are you being sarcastic? That's correct. That's all you have to do.
That is all I have to do.
Is this a problem?
I won't do.
It's so good.
All right. But to be clear, Mike, you said Jefferson Davis is the better dad. You gave some reasoning, but Vito, you never actually said who the better dad is.
Oh, Jefferson Davis is the better dad. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to like pick up like a slightly contrarian position just to illustrate who Uncle Aaron was and why Miles is like stuck between them. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, they seem better in different ways. Jefferson Davis is like the rock solid dude who is just so family oriented. It doesn't seem like he's ever going to abandon them because he's just so damn principled. Is going to stick by his family side for the rest of his days and will provide.
I don't think that his wife will like ever let him leave anyway either.
I'm all for that. Yeah. And then Uncle Aaron is
her. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Uncle Aaron is like the crazy, emotionally supportive like dad in Miles's life. So they both have like different attributes that they bring to the table, but Jefferson Davis I think clearly wins out.
I think like Uncle Aaron is like the cool dad that kind of sucks that we see in some movies. Like he's the divorced dad that has his own life, and it's cool. Like if his kid comes over and like smokes weed with him or whatever, but he's not like a father.
Yeah.
I think you'd say that person's more like an uncle.
I think he has a lot of uncle-like traits for sure.
Avuncular,
but
avuncular. It's a real word. Means like an uncle.
Oh, I guess. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That was etymology with Mike.
I think we should have that segment in every single episode.
It would not go well.
It's already happened, so we may as well just make it official.
Oh man, next time we'll bring it up again. But I also wanted to ask you guys. So we've done some Spider-Man movies before, and we've watched a lot ourselves. So how does this Into the Spider-Verse stack up with our other Spider-Man movies? Do you think it's the best one? Do you think it's the middle of the pack one? Mike?
Oh, dude, I think it's the best. I mean, I think it's the best superhero movie I've ever seen. I I think the second best is The Dark Knight, and it's right after this one. But this one beat it. I think that this is just an incredible movie. It captures this character. I think Spider-Man has universal appeal for just pretty much anyone who encounters the character, because what he represents is hope. And this is the most hopeful Spider-Man I've ever seen, while also being like kind of the darkest backstory I've ever seen as well. It's amazing. And they do such a good job. It's so beautifully created. It's such a piece. It's a piece of art in a way that is like a comic book. Like I feel like I can hold it in my hands, and I don't know. It's just so meaty, but also so light. It's just wonderful. It's my favorite for sure. What about you, Vito?
I would agree. I think this is the best that we've ever seen Spider-Man, and I think that Miles Morales is having such a meteoric kind of rise here. Not only, I mean, only introduced as a character about 10 years ago, and then having a full game devoted to him, which is beautiful and wonderful in its own ways, and does a lot of different stuff from this. But this is I would agree with Mike. I think this is the finest incarnation of a superhero or comic book movie. Pretty much full stop. Like there's a couple of comic book movies, quote unquote, that I think have it. There's a good conversation to be had there. Stuff like Road to Perdition is, for example, a graphic novel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is.
I did not know that.
Yeah, stuff like A History of Violence is a graphic novel. There's a lot of other very, very worthy movies to talk about. Dark Knight also being one of them. Mm-hmm. But I think that for every base that this hits, for every box that could be checked, it checks it. I think this is a technically perfect movie, just about every way.
Just to add to that, before we go to you, Jesse, I feel like part of the reason why it's able to do that is because it's riffing on all of the other ones, all the other stuff that's out there. Like the intro scene is just the story of Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, pretty much, which is awesome. And it's like kind of making fun of the fact that there's so many around there. It knows kind of what it's doing. And it's like, but I don't really care. Like, I'm not going to be too worried about the fact that we've done this a million times. This is a new story.
Especially with every comic that gets laid down, It says, and let's do this one last time. And they keep saying that. And they're like, one last time. And it's like 8 issues by the end.
But then it's Miles Morales at the end. Yep. It's like, this is a new one. Mm-hmm. You're the best of us. I feel like that's true.
What do you think, Jesse?
Yeah. All right. When I first saw it, I still preferred Spider-Man 2 over this one, but it was my second favorite. Now I think it's my number one Spider-Man movie. Not my favorite superhero movie. I still have a couple others above that. But if I had to make an all-time... Well, we're going to get to those in future episodes, I'm sure.
No, I want to know right now.
You want to know right now?
Yeah, I want to know what you put above it.
Oh, it'd have to be The Dark Knight and Logan.
Okay. Oh, I haven't actually seen Logan. Oh.
You should see Logan.
I know.
You should see Logan. I mean, we should also have a debate as we go forward when we touch on these other movies, and we can have that sort of long-term reflexive conversation about it.
Yeah.
But I think those are two very worthy choices. Like I would only have a hard time with Logan above this. But again, we could talk about that at a different time.
Well, yeah, I know we will, because we're going to do all the Wolverine movies at some point.
Yes,
it's true. Buckle up, kids, for the Wolverine.
Every movie that Wolverine appears in. So all of the X-Men movies. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's 10. I think he's in 10 movies.
Wow. That's amazing.
I don't think he's in Apocalypse, which is good, or Dark Phoenix, which is good.
No. Yeah, but yeah, he's in all 10 of them. And anyway, one day we'll see that. All 10 movies. Okay.
I'm getting sad thinking about
it. We might not do all 10 of them.
Oh, maybe let's just do Logan.
I might be. I perked up. I perked up there. Okay.
Yeah, I love Logan, and yeah, but this movie, it was able to riff enough on Spider-Man that it brought out all that old joy, brought something new to the table, and was just a fantastic superhero movie. So yeah, I guess it's number three of all my superhero movies. And I think I actually made a list the other day. I think I had seen 60 superhero movies. So it ranks really high.
That's
Nice.
pretty cool.
I mean, it's not as high as number 1, but it's pretty high.
Yeah, it's pretty
No. Yeah, it's 2 spots below that. It wins a bronze medal, but it's losing to Logan and The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan, which is supposedly one of the best action movies of all time.
Yeah,
it's true. It is that. And
yeah,
it's like if you put a gun to the head of each of these movies, like who would you spare? And Mike and I are both saying we'd spare this one.
Yep.
But it's nice to know where we all stand.
Yeah, it definitely contends with Dark Knight. I mean, they're doing very different things.
Yeah,
with hope, actually, with hope.
Yeah, they're both about hope.
Yeah, very differently.
All right. So speaking of hope, if you were Spider-Man, which Spider-Man do you hope you would be?
I know Vito Spiderham.
I can't.
He's already told us.
I can't be. I'm a squid. You're defeated, Mike.
Damn it!
And you see, it would make sense why my hands are wet.
That was the weirdest line.
I love it. I just wash my hands. That's why they're wet. No other reason.
No other reason.
I'm going to take it first. I think that I've often felt like Miles, and we do share part of a heritage. You know, he's Hispanic. I think technically Portuguese, but I am partially Hispanic myself, and it's nice seeing a hero that isn't just defined by being Mexican or being a Latino of some. Because it's usually like there's a guy and his name is like Cabron, and he has to wear a cowboy hat and he has to like shoot people with 6-shooters, and you're like, okay. Or it's a guy and he's like wearing a poncho. You go, all right, yeah, it's easy shorthand, fine. But it's nice just having a different race of a superhero. But I think it would be pretentious to say that I would be Miles. If I had to pick one for myself, Spider-Ham does not really seem hurt by anything. He has a hammer in his pocket. He can drop anvils on people. He's completely unbound by any laws of physics, comic or otherwise.
It's pretty amazing.
He's kind of like Mr. Mxyzptlk from Superman. He's such of an other dimension. You don't even know what's going to happen with him, and he wins through puns. It's pretty good. I don't know. I think you guys are messing up. I put money on Spider-Ham. What do you think, Mike?
You know, I think I definitely see you as a pig in a spider outfit.
Thank you.
Even though you're an octopus or squid or whatever.
I mean, I'm going to drop an anvil on your head, you know?
That is, okay, like, where my mind went when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's possible. You can have a universe where that is, like, but you have to write rules around it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fun.
They did, I don't know. In the little short film that they made with Spider-Ham, he wins. He's just Bugs Bunny. That's the thing. He has Bugs Bunny powers. So he's being chased by this guy, and they're going in and out the doors, classic like Hanna-Barbera style or Warner Brothers style. And then eventually he multiplies rapidly until there's like 100 Spider-Hams. And then they pick up the bad guy and they throw him out. And then it's just one Spider-Ham. And he's like, you shouldn't have picked a fight with me. I really enjoy that. But which Spider-Man are you? Which Spider-Man are you, Mike?
I feel like
I see you as Spider-Man Noir, just so you know.
Oh, yeah?
I see you as that.
What color is this? Purple?
Exactly. Definitely thinking about
what color is this? Purple.
I like how he says,
so great.
He says, I don't know what this is, but I will figure it out.
I'm taking it with me.
And he does.
And he
does figure it out.
He figures it out.
Yeah, and I see you also as like when he says that line, he's like, can you just, what does he say? Can you move beyond the racking emotional guilt of the violence that you've perpetrated? I see you having a line like that. I see you saying something like, you ever lit a match and let it burn down to your fingertips just to feel something?
And then it doesn't burn all the way. Well, that's, I don't know what to think about that and your perception of me. I feel like I related most to Peter B. Parker. I mean, like, you relate to all of them, I think, and that's part of the beauty. But he just seems so realistic, and I don't know, life. The beauty and the joy of being a superhero has kind of lost its gloss, right? Like it's not quite as amazing as it's always been. He's just kind of done the same things for a while, and he's afraid of something bigger, and he doesn't really want to deal with it. I don't know.
I can
think-
definitely
think
see
that I
you
relate to
like
that.
saying, I can see you saying like, there I was in my apartment, doing ab crunches, getting strong.
Oh, yeah.
And just wolfing down pizza.
I'm
I think
pretty
I've
sure
seen you
I've
do that.
said that.
I think so. There I was, just getting
Like you were there
strong.
with me. I was talking to my wife. Like I'm just working out right now. I'm just-
Oh man, I like that answer. He is so relatable. He kind of, I mean, in some ways, the movie rests on Peter B. Parker because he's showing us like the jadedness that we all have towards superhero movies, and we come into it and we expect to treat it the same way he's treating the entire movie,
Nice.
which is like, we're just going through the motions. Oh, she's gonna say, in the next 24 hours, you need to fix this or else everything will blow up. And then she says 24 hours later, he's like, see, I told you.
Yeah.
Give me the goober. There's always a disable key, a key code, a security key. I just call it a goober.
Give me
Give
the goober.
But anyway, so you didn't answer though, Jesse. Who are you?
Oh, clearly I am Tobey Maguire.
Nice. That's a good look. That's a good look.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody would ever really want to be Tobey Maguire.
I don't think he wants to.
That
be.
sounds not at this point. No, I don't. I think I have to agree with Mike. I still relate the most to Peter B. Parker. I came into the movie with the same attitude that he did, and I left way more hopeful about life the same way he did.
Nice.
Yeah.
And about superhero movies.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened? Wait, what did you say?
No, I was just referencing the fact that you left more hopeful about superhero movies and like you came back to superhero movies and superhero stuff. You've bought comic books after having seen this movie, which is kind of really cool. Like it brought this hope to you, partly through showing you like the way that you were relating to superhero movies through Peter B. Parker, this depressed, jaded, cynical, middle-aged dude. Yeah. Which is fun. It's cool.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on the board for us, Jesse? Sorry.
Nope. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up?
I just had two real quick ones because I keep having them. But did you guys catch when Miles saves Gwen and then she didn't die?
Wait, what?
When she's falling through towards the reactor, he's shooting towards her as fast as he can, and he catches her and saves her. And it was like a beautiful mirroring of how before in alternate universes that same thing happens and she dies because the sudden deceleration breaks her neck.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't even think like I remember that scene. I remember but I didn't even think about the other situations where that didn't end up going well.
So I really love that. And that's only something I noticed 2 watches ago.
Cool.
That's awesome.
And then let's see. Another one that I thought was really interesting is in the scene where they're again, it's in the end arc reactor scene. There's all this stuff happening. Did you guys like the PlayStation controller that flies by? And they say that they're like, oh yeah, you just gotta hit the thing and go. And then the PlayStation controller goes by, and there's a little button highlighted that you're supposed to press, like if it was a game. It's really fun.
I did not even see that at all. Totally missed it.
And then there's the my runner up favorite scene is when Peter B. Parker discovers Miles in the cemetery.
Yeah.
And as they accidentally get webbed to the train and they're getting pulled along, you go in the cop car, and the cop car, you hear on the radio, we're looking for a child in a Spider-Man suit dragging a homeless corpse.
So good.
And then you see him bouncing along, and Peter B. Parker like wakes up. He's like, "Why are you trying to kill me?" And gets knocked out again. It was really funny.
I love that.
I just wanted to mention that because that was just something that I laugh at every single time I watch it, and I love it.
But it makes me think of the line that he says in the ventilation when they're in the place where they're getting a computer.
Yeah.
When he says, most of the people I meet in the workplace are trying to kill me. You're kind of nice.
It's a nice change of pace.
Nice change of pace.
I love it. So I think we've talked about a lot of Spider-Man related things, and I don't think we've talked about all of it because I think it's impossible to talk about all of this because we love it so much. But I would like to jump straight to the dad movie. Is this a dad movie, and why? Vito, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a dad movie. It's something I was so excited to share with my daughter. It's something I can't wait to have continuing conversations about. Show it to my other kids when/if I have more. This is just this is an all timer. I was really happy to be able to talk about something I feel this positively about. What do you think, Mike?
Oh yeah, 100% dad movie. I mean, it's about a son and his father. It's also about just like trying to make the connection between the kids and the parents, and how both of them care. Like, that's really cool. They both care. They both want to do that. They both want to love each other.
Yeah.
Which again isn't something you always see. And so, yeah, definitely a dad movie. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, it's definitely a dad movie, and kind of piggybacking off of something Mike was saying, I love the idea that there is a dad, and the dad isn't just a bumbling, stupid idiot. He's a little out of touch, but he's not an idiot. And he loves his son and wants to communicate that, and it's not getting through because Miles doesn't fully love his dad back. And there's a mutual growing in this movie where both the father and the son come together at the end. And that there are so many kids movies where it's just, parents are stupid and the kids were right all along. And then there are even worse movies where the parents were right and the kids were wrong and they go on a terrible misadventure. Those are usually like dumb moral tales that that are less than B movies, so I won't get into them. But yeah, I love I love this. I love that. And I remember kind of I went through a phase with my dad at a certain point where I thought he was kind of, I don't know, not cool. Yeah. There was a period of time where I didn't really want to be around him. And I know that that's going to happen with my kids and me someday. And I would like to discourage that behavior as much as possible with movies like this, because I was a little shit. And if there is a movie out there like this that can help curb that in any extent, I would like to show it to my children. So yes, 1,000% a dad movie.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. I think that closes up our discussion on Spider-Man. This was part of our fan request month. This came from multiple people. In fact, we had a poll out, and this was the top voted movie for us to do, and we're so happy to do it for you all. We love those requests. Keep sending them to us. I'm sure we're going to have another fan request month in a bit. I don't know when it'll happen, but send us your requests. We'll probably try to slip it in somewhere, and we will definitely communicate back to you if you let us know. And from that poll, we have one more episode to do in fan request month called Fantastic Something. I don't want to give it away.
It's just Fantastic Something.
Man, I don't want to do that one. It's so vague.
Fantastic, whatever.
It's a who's it? It's a what's it? It's a fugazi.
It's that thing that the dude's in at the one place at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw it.
Oh yeah. I think he's a cat. I think it's a cat.
I think it's a cat.
It's a cat.
I think it's a cat. Yeah, or a meerkat, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, and that'll be the last movie in the fan request month. So until next time, I'm Jesse.
I'm Vito.
And I'm Mike.
Have a good night, everybody.